A very good morning and welcome to Rajya Sabha TV. You are watching the Breakfast News, where we get you the biggest news stories from India and across the world. My name is Aishwarya and these are the headlines. India jumps 30 points to break into top 100 of World Bank's Ease of Doing Business report. Prime Minister says it is the outcome of Team India's reforms push. Finance Minister says aim to climb to top 50. CBI files a charge sheet in a Vyapam scam, says no truth in the allegations of tampering of data files seized from the accused. Congress leader Digvijay Singh and whistleblower had made the allegations. Five people killed following heavy rains in Tamil Nadu, waterlogging in several places, normal life thrown out of gear. More rains predicted in the next 24 hours. Terror attack in New York, 8 killed, 11 seriously injured after truck mows down people on cycle path. Attacker shot at in police custody. And India beat Malaysia in the Women's Asia Cup hockey to enter quarter-finals. Ace shooter Hina Sindhu clinches gold at the Commonwealth Shooting Championship. Deepak Kumar bags bronze. The biggest story of this morning, India has jumped to 100th place in the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business rankings, jumping 30 notches from last year. Now, praising the development, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley asserted that India is the only country to have achieved such a significant feat. He also stressed that improvement in the investment environment will boost employment opportunities as well. He also vowed to ensure India breaks into the top 50.
India jumped 30 notches to break into top 100 of World Bank's Ease of Doing Business rankings. The report also recognizes India as one of the top 10 improvers in this year's assessment, having implemented reforms in 8 out of 10 doing business indicators. The government focused on significant reforms in the areas of tax, bankruptcy laws and protecting small investors. Rankings are expected to jump further in the coming years after factoring in the GST, which kicked in from July 1st.
ये कोई जनरलाइज्ड रैंकिंग नहीं होती कि आपने क्या-क्या कार्रवाई की अपने देश में बिजनेस एनवायरनमेंट को इंप्रूव करने की। ये कुछ स्पेसिफिक क्षेत्रों में होती है और उसकी बहुत ही कठिन मापदंड लेते हैं वो। और इस साल की जो रैंकिंग दी गई है उसमें पिछले वर्ष की 130 नंबर रैंकिंग से हम लोग 30 स्थान आगे आकर 100 नंबर पर आए हैं।
While there has been substantial progress, India still lags in the areas such as starting a business, enforcing contracts and dealing with construction permits. In starting a business, India has reduced the time needed to register a new business to 30 days now from 127 days 15 years ago. However, procedures are still cumbersome for local entrepreneurs.
और ये हिंदुस्तान के लिए बहुत सिग्निफिकेंट इसलिए है कि हम लोग पिछले 3-4 साल से विशेष प्रयास कर रहे हैं कि जो 10 क्राइटेरिया हैं उनमें हर क्राइटेरिया के ऊपर हम लोग सुधार करने का प्रयास करें ताकि व्यवसाय बिजनेस करना हिंदुस्तान के अंदर सरल हो जाए।
The Ease of Doing Business report is based on how easy it is for companies to do business in India. It also takes into account certain regulations based on 10 parameters such as starting a business, getting electricity, dealing with construction permits and paying taxes. Last year, India came in at 130 on the index, below countries like Ghana, Vietnam and Uganda. Amid constant onslaught by the opposition parties, this report has brought some cheer for the government on the economic front. Almost every policy measure announced by the government in last couple of years had an inbuilt improvement in the element of ease of doing business. But the aim is to barge into the league of top 50 in the world. Reporting from Delhi, with camera person Saroj, I'm Kriti Mishra for Rajya Sabha Television.
And hailing the World Bank report, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that guided by the mantra of reform, perform and transform, India is determined to further improve its ranking and scale greater economic growth. Now, in a series of tweets on Tuesday, the Prime Minister said, and I quote him now, "Historic jump in ease of doing business rankings is the outcome of the all-round and multi-sectoral reform push of Team India." He also said that businesses in India has become easier and the country is waiting to welcome the world to explore economic opportunities. Now, after the report, Economic Affairs Secretary Subhash Chandra Garg said that the government is now hopeful of an increase in private investment as well.
प्राइवेट इन्वेस्टमेंट बढ़ने के पीछे और जो रुका हुआ था उसके पीछे थोड़े से कारण थे। कुछ गलत इन्वेस्टमेंट हो गए थे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर उसमें। अभी जो नया डेटा आ रहा है वो बता रहा है कि प्राइवेट सेक्टर इन्वेस्टमेंट पिकअप कर रहा है। कोर सेक्टर का आज डेटा आया जिसमें 5% से ज़्यादा की ग्रोथ भी हुई है। सो इन सब कारणों से मुझे अब ये आई थिंक मैं इस स्थिति में हूँ ये कह सकते हैं इन्वेस्टमेंट साइकिल भी अब रिवाइव हो रही है देश में।
And World Bank's Vice President for South Asia, Annette Dixon, said that the report was a clear signal that India is now competing as the preferred place to do business globally. The report, however, did not include demonetization and GST reforms, for which Dixon said that the World Bank will observe the GST for the next 2 to 3 years to see its full implementation.
Today's result is a very clear signal from India to the rest of the world that not only has the country been ready and open for business, as it has been for, of course, many decades, it is now competing as a preferred place to do business globally. In the case of GST, we know that this is a very complicated reform to roll out across the whole country, and we would expect to see the full impact of that only in 2 to 3 years.
And while industry experts have welcomed the report, they also add that there is a major scope for improvement in various sectors.
We are improving. We have made certain changes on all aspects, almost all aspects. It shows in many factors the pace of improvement in India is better than the pace of improvement in other economies, and because of that we have jumped 30 places in that ranking. My concern is right now that to enforce a contract, still it is we are almost at the same level where we were a decade or decade and a half back. Like paying taxes and other things, we have made tremendous progress. So the permits, again, still permits and enforcing contract, and third one along with it, the registering property. These are the 3 factors areas where we have to work very hard.
On to some other news now. The country's biggest lender, the State Bank of India, has slashed the benchmark lending rate across the maturities. Now, the SBI has reduced the rate by 0.05%. The reduction in marginal cost of funds-based lending rate comes almost a gap of 10 months. The latest move will trigger a rate cut by other lenders as well. All the new rates will be effective from today onwards. In a statement, SBI said that overnight borrowings has been reduced to 7.7% from 7.75%, while the lending rate for 3-year tenure has been cut to 8.1% from 8.15%. Meanwhile, Allahabad Bank has also reduced the MCLR rate by 0.15%. While with the reduction, 1-year MCLR has now come down to 8.3% as against 8.45%. And Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu addressed the National Conference on Life and Times of Sardar Patel on Tuesday. He stressed that Sardar Patel was the architect and unifier of modern India. Vice President Naidu, however, said that it was unfortunate that there has been no proper recognition of the monumental contribution made by Sardar Patel and his legacy in unifying the country at the most critical juncture in its history.
Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu addressed the national conference titled Making of Gandhian Nationalist, Life and Times of Sardar Patel. The Vice President said Sardar Patel placed the country's interests above everything else and shaped India's destiny with single-minded devotion. He emphasized that every Indian needs to remember the invaluable contribution of Patel in building a modern and unified India as the country marches ahead as one of the largest economies in the world.
Sardar Patel's life gives inspiration to each one. I would like the younger generation to read, to visit Sardar Patel's life.
The Vice President also noted that Patel's vision for a unified India saw the creation of the All India Administrative Services, which he described as the steel frame. His exhortation to probationers to maintain utmost impartiality and incorruptibility of administration is as relevant today as it was then.
Earlier it was a mission. Now some people are turning it into a commission, giving remission and committing many omissions. This has to be kept in mind. He forewarned at that time itself, Sardar Patel, even the people in the service. Following his death, the Manchester Guardian wrote, quote, Patel was not only the organizer for the fight of freedom, but also architect of the new state when the fight was over. The same man is seldom successful as a rebel and a statesman. Sardar Patel was the exception.
Displaying the vision of a statesman, tact, diplomacy and pragmatic approach, Patel prevented the balkanization of India. He ensured the merger of over 560 princely states with the Union of India at a critical and most turbulent period in the history of the country. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And in an event to mark the birth anniversary of Sardar Patel, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu also administered the Ekta Pledge to people. Now, speaking at the first memorial lecture on the Sardar Patel, Vice President said that India's integrity should never be compromised for the freedom of expression. Now, remembering the contribution of the Iron Man to the nation's unity, he said that it is unfortunate that there has been no proper recognition of Sardar Patel's contribution and his legacy in unifying the country.
Dissent, disagreement is part of democracy, it's part of Indian civilization. But disintegration is not acceptable at all. We should all hold that view and see to it our actions, individual actions, are in that direction or not. Parties' actions, whichever party it is, are they in that direction or not? Organizations' actions, are they in that direction or not?
Let's get to some other news now. India and Singapore have decided to increase their engagement in the fields of defense and trade. In the face of new challenges in the Asia-Pacific region, the two countries also decided to engage in regular naval exercises. Now, an understanding to this effect was made at a joint ministerial meeting in New Delhi on Tuesday. The meeting that was chaired by External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj as well as with Singapore Foreign Minister Vivian Balakrishnan. External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Ravish Kumar later said that there is a political convergence between both the sides, even on multilateral issues, including the United Nations. On a two-day visit to the country, the Singapore Foreign Minister will be in Guwahati on Wednesday to launch a skill development centre with his country's help. And Bhutan King Jigme Khesar Namgyel Wangchuk is on a 4-day visit to India. Now, he is accompanied by the Queen and Prince. This is the first high-level visit after the 73-day-long Doklam standoff was resolved. The royal couple was received by External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj at the airport. Swaraj will call on the Bhutan King today. A meeting with President Ramnath Kovind is also slated for the day. There is also a meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who will host a dinner in the honour of the royal family. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu and other ministers will also call on the king on Thursday. And in a very short break, we'll be back with more news. Stay with us.
The sacred relics of Buddha were unearthed in Piprava in Uttar Pradesh. Buddhist monks from all over the world visit the National Museum to pay their respects. These charred bone fragments of Buddha are housed in the gold canopy gifted by the royal family of Thailand.
Welcome back after the break. Now, a big story coming in from Himachal Pradesh. The Bharatiya Janata Party has announced Prem Kumar Dhumal as its chief ministerial candidate for the upcoming elections in Himachal Pradesh. Now, a two-time chief minister, Dhumal's name was declared by BJP President Amit Shah at a rally in Solan. Now, in the last few elections, the BJP has refrained from declaring its chief ministerial candidates. The cases in Point are Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand, where the party waited until the results were out. The 73-year-old Dhumal will now challenge Congress's Veerbhadra Singh in a direct fight to be held on 9th of November.
पूरे देश भर में भाजपा मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में लड़ रही है, मगर आपको सुनना है कि हिमाचल में भाजपा किसके नेतृत्व में लड़ रही है, तो मैं आज स्पष्ट किए देता हूं वीरभद्र जी, हिमाचल के अंदर भारतीय जनता पार्टी धूमल जी के नेतृत्व में चुनाव लड़ने के लिए जा रही है।
On to news from the other election-bound state of Gujarat, and Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi will begin his three-day campaign in South Gujarat from today. Now, this will be Rahul's third round of a roadshow in poll-bound Gujarat. The South Gujarat campaign begins with Bharuch and Surat. Now, there are 35 assembly seats in the region. In 2012, the BJP had won 28 of the total 35 seats in South Gujarat. And this area is a business hub, home to small traders and industries. Remember, Gujarat votes in two phases on 9th of December and 14th of December for the 182-seat assembly. And Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi paid homage to former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi on her 33rd death anniversary on Tuesday. The Congress party conferred Carnatic vocalist T.M. Krishna with the Indira Gandhi Award for National Integration for 2015-16. On the occasion, Rahul Gandhi said that Indira Gandhi fought for the unity and integrity of India till her last breath. Here are the details from the event.
Presenting the Indira Gandhi Award for National Integration in the National Capital on Tuesday, Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi said that India must strive to prevent, reduce and resolve conflicts. He also underscored the need for peace and harmony for the progress of the nation.
This award is a testament not only to Indira Gandhi's contributions to the making of India, but to the broad view of the Indian ethos and heritage that she cherished. It reminds us all that, like her, we must be undaunted, unafraid, and uncompromised against the forces of darkness that seek to engulf our land.
Present on the occasion, former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh said that India must reaffirm its commitment to the values of harmony, tolerance, and respect.
At a time when our society is facing a danger of deepening divisions, true patriotism demands that we follow the path shown by Srimati Indira Gandhi and work for social and regional cohesion even as we celebrate our diversity.
At the ceremony, the Indira Gandhi Award for National Integration was also presented to Carnatic vocalist T.M. Krishna. The award citation says, Krishna is not only one of the prominent vocalists in Carnatic music, but also an activist who has worked on creating egalitarian spaces for music and
மக்கள் ரொம்ப அதுக்கு மீறி ரொம்ப மழை வெள்ளம் புயல் வந்து இயற்கை பேரிடர் மேலாண்மை இது பண்ணுறது சம்பந்தமாக நமக்கு வந்து ரிலீஃப் சென்டர் மக்களை தங்க வைக்கிறதுக்கான இடங்கள் வந்து போய் குரூப் எங்கள்
Let's get to some international news now. At least 8 people have been killed and 11 seriously hurt in New York after the driver of a truck mowed down people on a cycle path in Lower Manhattan. The incident took place at around 3 p.m. local time when a rented truck, while being driven along a St. Houston path, struck cyclists and pedestrians. Now, mangled bicycles littered the scene of the attack, which occurred as much of the city was celebrating Halloween. Now, after crashing the truck into a school bus, the suspect exited the vehicle while displaying firearms. He was shot by a police officer and was taken into custody. The suspect has been identified as Saifulo Sepo, who is an immigrant from Uzbekistan. The officials, however, say that there was no evidence of a wider plot. Now, US President Donald Trump, in a series of tweets, said that it looks like another attack by a very sick and deranged person. He further said that we must not allow Islamic State to enter our country, and in another tweet said, "My thoughts, condolences and prayers to the victims and families of the New York City terrorist attack. God and your country are with you."
I don't know, we've been through 9/11, so, I mean, but now this truck thing and the cars, using cars against people. I mean, I walk up that road every day, to go to wherever, and I mean, you just have to be very, very careful and vigilant all the time.
It's a very painful day in our city. Horrible tragedy on the west side. Let me be clear that based on the information we have at this moment, this was an act of terror, and a particularly cowardly act of terror aimed at innocent civilians, aimed at people going about their lives who had no idea of what was about to hit them. We, at this moment, based on the information we have, we know of 8 innocent people who have lost their lives.
News from Afghanistan now, where a suicide bomber in the capital Kabul killed as many as 13 people and wounded many others. The attack took place in Wazir Akbar Khan, a heavily fortified area of the city, which houses numerous foreign embassies and government buildings. A suicide bomber reportedly detonated explosives inside Kabul's green zone close to the Australian embassy. Now, all the victims are reported to be Afghans, most of whom were workers leaving their offices at the start of the evening rush hour. Now, Islamic State claimed responsibility for the attack. Meanwhile, Minister of External Affairs Sushma Swaraj on Tuesday said that no Indian national was injured in the Kabul suicide attack. Swaraj said that she had a talk with India's ambassador to Afghanistan, Manpreet Vohra, after the attack. Now, the explosion occurred despite a heightened security in Kabul following a series of attacks in the month of October, including one on a Shiite mosque in the city that killed more than 50 people, and a separate attack on an army training facility that killed at least 15 soldiers.
غبارآلود و خاکباد بود. ما دقیق هم نتونستیم، همه در حدود 7-8 موتر دیدیم که از این ساحه ما گذشت.
And Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev is on a 2-day visit to the Chinese capital of Beijing. Now, during the visit, he met his Chinese counterpart Li Keqiang. After the meeting, Li Keqiang said that China was ready to consolidate trust, expand cooperation and exchanges with Russia to bring cooperation into reality. Medvedev also held a meeting with the Chinese President Xi Jinping. Now, he's the first foreign leader to visit China after the 19th National Congress of the Communist Party of China. Medvedev is expected to participate in an intergovernmental talks today, during which the parties are expected to sign a number of MOUs on cooperation in the energy and agriculture field. He will also hold the 22nd Russia-China Prime Minister's regular meeting today. Earlier on Monday, Chinese Vice Premier Wang Yang and a Russian Deputy Prime Minister had met and they agreed to expand cooperation. The trip underlines growing bilateral dialogue between Beijing and Moscow, including on key regional and global issues such as the Korean nuclear standoff as well as the Syrian conflict. Let's get you some sports news now. India defeated Malaysia in the Women's Asia Cup hockey in its third and the final match to enter the quarter-final stage of the tournament. For India, Vandana Kataria and Gurjeet Kaur scored 1 goal each, beating their opponents 2-0. Earlier, the Indian women's team had beaten China 4-1. The team had also beaten Singapore by a huge margin of 10-1. Malaysia is the second place team in the pool, while South Korea and Japan are leading Pool B. The quarter-final matches will be played on Thursday, the semi-finals on Friday, and the final on Sunday. News from the cricket field, and the first T20 international match between India and New Zealand will take place today at the Firozshah Kotla Stadium in Delhi. Today will also be the last game of the Indian player Ashish Nehra in competitive cricket. Both the teams are looking to perform their best in the match. Earlier, India had defeated New Zealand in the final one-day international to win the three-match series. And more good news from India. Ace Indian shooter Hina Sindhu has clinched the gold medal in the 10 meters air pistol competition at the Commonwealth Shooting Championships in Brisbane. Sindhu scored 626.2 points to claim the medal. Now, this was Sindhu's second successive international gold after she claimed the top position in the 10 meters air pistol mixed team event along with Jeetu Rai in the ISSF World Cup finals earlier this month. Among other Indians, Deepak Kumar won a bronze medal in the 10-meter air rifle event. Gagan Narang finished 4th, while Ravi Kumar ended 5th. And that's it from me and my team in this edition of news. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day ahead.